But the envy, the nature of envy is it is never satisfied. It never accepts defeat. When we experience envy in our life towards any person, you should analyze what's happening with your own self at that time. It seems as if that person whom you are envious against should be destroyed, should cease to exist, should be ripped off of his position, his power, his wealth or whatever. You want him to be destroyed. Envy is such a thing that you don't even want a peaceful death for such a person. You want that person blows off to pieces. That is the nature envy is. It wants to break every inch of your personality. To the one whom you want to be envious, it wants to break. And if I envious someone, that person, I want that person to be, every single bit of that person should be brought down, should be broken and destroyed. Then only you will be satisfied. That's the nature of it. Mantra was not satisfied. She could not control. So Mantra makes the third attempt. She says, Kaikeyi, I am just a dasi. If you want, you can chop off my head. I don't care. And anyways, now since you are a queen and you are used to only hearing good things, if you want, now I will not speak a word against whatever happens to you. If good is happening to you, it's to your credit. If bad happens to you, it's bad. But I will never speak anything which you don't like. When she says this, Kaikeyi starts listening attentively. Finally, Mantra has begun to succeed. She says, have you ever thought what will happen to Bharat? It is said in the scriptures that at times, the kings, when they are in the amongst kingdoms, when somebody is going to come in power, those who are near to him, they are scared of such people. Brothers are scared of brothers and therefore they eliminate them. It's potential probability that Ram will eliminate because only person he learns is Lakshman and therefore he will immediately have Bharat removed or banished or eliminated. So therefore he says that I would suggest Kaikeyi, what you do, let's forget about everything. What you do is, you simply tell Bharat not to come to Ayodhya because he will die. So better he just goes to forest. He should not come. And anyways, and he can get married to some people there and he can have your daughter-in-laws also can stay there. So, at that time, Kaikeyi gets affected. It is so interesting that Kaikeyi so far has been glorifying the qualities of Ram, vehemently opposing, strongly opposing the views of Mantra. But at this point, suddenly she gets thinking, oh yes, what will happen of my sons? What will happen to my daughter-in-law? And what will happen of Bharat's sons? Kaikeyi says, Ram's sons will rule after Ram. Bharat's sons will have no position. Bharat will be distant and Bharat's sons will even become more distant. So Kaikeyi starts thinking, yes, what will happen? When we are hearing a person who is full of envy or hateful tendencies, sometimes we feel that, oh, he is suffering like this, but it's fine. I'm just listening, but I will not take it seriously. But the nature of envy is like a poison. The more you keep yourself attentive hearing, slowly it builds up in you and then you get affected. Mantra and Kaikeyi, this discussion was not going for days. It's just within that few hours of span, few minutes. Kaikeyi gets affected with this whole episode. And then suddenly she rises from her bed and she says, Mantra, what is your view? Okay, tell me what is your view. What should I do now? So Mantra is very happy and she says, Kaikeyi, I think you should go and approach the king and ask for 2 boons, if you remember. So Kaikeyi did not remember at that time what the boons she had. So it seemed it was a very long time the war had taken place. In one of the wars, Dasharatha was going to die, but Kaikeyi had a benediction from one of the devatas. So she reached at the battlefield and she saved the life of Dashrath actually. She was driving the chariot and she saved the life of Dashrath. So Dashrath had given her, he promised her 2 boons, for which Kaikeyi had told that I will ask whenever I want. So Mantra reminds. So she says, go and ask the 2 boons. So Kaikeyi asks, what boon shall I ask? So Mantra says, go and ask 2 things. First, that Bharat should be installed as the king. And second, Ram should be banished from the kingdom. So Kaikeyi also asks Mantra, okay, Bharat should be installed as the king, that's fine, but why should Ram be banished? What is the reason? So Mantra gives reason. Ram is so attractive to the people of Ayodhya. People of Ayodhya love him so much that if Ram is around, even if Bharat becomes the king, nobody will accept his position. Because whatever Ram will do, people will be inclined. So you have to ensure that Ram is banished from the kingdom. आने का ही नहीं इधर, दिखना ही नहीं चाहिए उसका चेहरा. Because if you are here, then my activities will be in question. And therefore, he was banished. And therefore, she gave the psychology of banishment. And then she told, slowly, over a period of time, people's relation with Ram will get diminished, and at the same time, Bharat's relation with Ram will increase. And because they will have no other option than Bharat, so naturally Bharat will be accepted as the king. And the scriptures say, one who is away from any particular relation for 14 years, it's considered nullified. So the debts in that relation are all nullified. Say for example, a husband does not meet his wife for 14 years, that relation is naturally called off. A son does not meet his parents for 14 years, parents do not meet the son, that relation is called off. The son is as good as dead for the parent are as good as dead for the son. So 14 years is the time period where the relationship is called off. And therefore they choose this, she chooses the figure of 14 years. It's almost a psychological change of the body, mind, totally. So strategy, this happens everywhere. In, I don't know here what they say, but in India there is study path system. A local criminal is told that you are banished from this particular state. So he is not allowed to come in this territory. That is one kind of punishment. You don't come here. If you are coming here, we will put you in jail. So like that. They thought just banishing. And there were options in sending Bharat away, Ram away. He could have actually been given a kingdom somewhere else. But that was also a problem. If you give a person like Ram a kingdom, he will make a mark in his kingdom and that will create his profile. Just like if you have good governance in some other country, the president of this country will have a pressure, naturally. They say, oh, Canada is doing so good, Brazil is doing so good, why is America not doing good? So the president has to perform, there will be pressure by the people. So they decide that he should be banished in forest, not given some remote location kingdom. And he is also Kshatriya. So if he is given a kingdom, he may start acquiring, later he will do a war and then come. So Mantra knows very nicely that if Ram has any position, he will regain everything. So she ensures Ram should not come to forest. So therefore, when Kaikeyi hears all this, she is convinced. Because naturally the love for her sons, it's a distorted love, that also takes over. But at the same time, more than the love, is the poison of envy. By constant hearing that negativity, that wrong connections, the conspiracy angle, which there was no conspiracy, it was a very simplistic thing. Bharat went for a celebration, Dashrath saw that stars are coming, means I will die soon, so therefore let me install Ram. Everybody is glorifying, there was no problem. So Kaikeyi says, now how do I tell this to Dashrath? He will not listen to me. Mantra says, oh Kaikeyi, what a woman you are. You don't know your strength. Dashrath is so captivated by your beauty that he does not have the power to deny you. There has never been a moment that he has denied you at any time. So, go in your room and take out these beautiful clothes you have on your body. Wear soiled clothes. You should not be seated in this beautiful bed. You should be seated on the floor. Scatter all your hair, remove the decorations from your hair. And remove your eyeliner. All the things that is quite so nice. Look so pathetic that the king also is worried. So she goes to the chamber where, big families, maybe, when you get angry, so there is another room for that. Because you don't spoil the decor of a kingdom. Somebody comes to meet the queen. So in the official room, you cannot sit worried. You have to be representing. Like it's a courtroom, so the king cannot look depressed there. He has to be like well dressed. So if you have to be depressed, you go in a separate room. So she entered that room, separate place. When Dashrath knows that Kaikeyi is in that room, he is already scared. What has happened? Dashrath goes. Dashrath is in the mood of celebration. He goes in that room. He sees Kaikeyi on the floor, lying down, hair are scattered, not well decorated. And very timidly, Valmiki explains, Dashrath very timidly he entered that room. And he just touched Kaikeyi on her shoulder, towards her hair, just about to, in a mood just like a husband would do to a wife. What has happened, Kaikeyi? At that moment, Kaikeyi immediately, she instantly hits back at Dashrath and throws off his hand off her body. Dashrath is slightly taken aback. Why is Kaikeyi doing him like this? Interesting, these things are day-to-day things. If you are angry with a friend, or if your child, if the child is angry with you, and sometimes the child also does something. Valmiki explains, when Dashrath's hand was thrown away by Kaikeyi, alas! Valmiki explains, alas! That great king could not understand that this person is behaving bad. The king took it as a romantic sport, and he thought that maybe Kaikeyi is wanting to incite romance. She will be slightly denying, and then he will try to appease, and then they will have a nice expression of love. So Valmiki explains, alas! Dashrath took it as an amorous sport. And he approached, my dear Kaikeyi, what has happened? And then Kaikeyi looked at Dashrath with eyes fully red, bursting with hatred and vengeance. And Kaikeyi was also breathing heavy. Dashrath was so scared that in times of such a celebration, what has gone wrong now? Still Dashrath is not convinced. Dashrath tells Kaikeyi, who is that king? Who is that monarch on this planet who has misbehaved that you want to be killed? Tell me. I will kill. Who is that living entity who needs to be eliminated? I will eliminate. I will make the king as a pauper. I will kill anybody, any living animate or inanimate. You tell me who has done something wrong to you. Just tell me. So, tell me how I can please you. Tell me what I can do for you. So he says so many times all these things. Kaikeyi looks at Dashrath and he says, you are telling me to tell me, you are telling me, ask me what you want, but are you ready to give me what I want? So Dashrath says, it has been the tradition of Raghukul that pran jaye par vachan na jaye. And we are ready to give our lives but will not take back our word. So you just ask. She says, are you sure you can give? He says, I am willing to put my integrity, my life for my word. You just simply ask, O Queen, have I ever denied you anything at any point of time? So Kaikeyi immediately says, I want Bharat to be installed as the king. Dashrath is shocked. And I want Ram to be sent in exile to forest for 14 years. The moment Dashrath hears this, he just raises his hand, he sinks his head in his hands and falls down on the ground unconscious, or semi-unconscious. And he thinks, oh, what great blunder have I done by agreeing to this person. I just promised. She said, you had asked me, you had promised me these 2 bulls, I want this. Dashrath realizes that it's a catastrophe, it's a calamity, there is no way coming out of this. Because Kaikeyi immediately says, if you cannot give me what I want, then say it that I cannot give. It will go down in history that a person of this Ishwaku dynasty, of this Raghukul, has denied to give the vows, give the boons which he had promised for. Now this is too big a statement. So Dashrath is under pressure. He cannot decide. He says, my dear Kaikeyi, I promise you that the very next day, tomorrow, we will call Bharat from his maternal uncle's place and we will install him the king. But why do you want Ram to be banished? Just leave Ram alone. What is the problem? I assure you that Ram will serve under Bharat, and I assure you Ram will be happy. Because I know Ram, he is not a greedy person. Ram does not desire all these things. For Ram, even if he is not given the position of a prince, he will be happy serving. So therefore, why do you want Ram to be banished? Kaikeyi simply says, if you cannot fulfill your promise, just tell me you cannot fulfill. Don't give me the reasons. So Dashrath has no option. He does not speak anything. Just before this conversation, we heard how Kaikeyi had chastised Manthara for all her approach. When Kaikeyi got convinced by Manthara that she is actually a well-wisher, Kaikeyi had started glorifying the beauty of Manthara's body. Few verses before, Kaikeyi is telling that the scriptures mentioned one with that was Manthara, one eye blind, lame, and also henchman. One who is like this can never be trusted. And now she is saying, you are the best amongst the hunchback people on this earth who can give guidance on such intellectual topics. It's an intellectual decision who should be the king and how to orchestrate this whole thing. And then she says, you have always spoken in the interest of my benefit. Let me tell you that there are so many hunchback people on earth whose body construction is so bad and ugly and they look crooked and dreadful. But you appear so beautiful like a lovely lotus flower which is bent by the breeze. Look at the impact of envy. Few minutes before, she was thinking that Manthara is creating discord in my family. But when she got stung by that envy, what she's thinking? She says, your chest is appearing equal on both sides. Because as a woman, the chest was, and she was a hunchback, so the chest was protruding on both sides. So she said that your chest is looking equally on both sides, and below the chest is the beautiful stomach with the excellent navel. This is Kaikeyi glorifying Manthara's body after criticizing her. And she says, oh Manthara, you have such perfect body. And I wish that soon after Bharat gets this kingdom, I will decorate this hunchback with a golden garland. Now, after Dashrath has sunk to the floor, Mantra is already imagining these things because she's just outside the chamber. And there is no sound coming of Dashrath. The only sound came was Dashrath falling, the great king falling on the floor. So, KK is just lying there. Meanwhile, Sumantra comes. Actually, the whole night passes. Now, morning time, Ram is supposed to be installed as the king. So, just a day before, Ram sees all the beautiful paraphernalia, hundreds and thousands of pots of silver filled with clarified butter, with ghee, grain, rye, other things, and all these jewels and embroidery and so many things, just like in a yajna ceremony. He sees all these things being arranged for him. And it was just lying outside the room of Dashrath. So here, it's daytime, dawn time. Ram and Sita are in their chambers doing austerity. It is explained that Ram had woken just 3 hours before sunrise. And he was doing his puja and other things. Kaushalya was in her chamber doing puja. And it was already about to get sunrise. It was already the time where sun would rise, and Dashrath had not come out of his place. So everybody was worried that it's time of yajna and puja, and how come on such a day that Dashrath is just sleeping late. So Sumantra goes inside, who is the minister, and when he sees Dashrath on the floor, he's slightly scared, and he sees KK nearby. Now everybody knew that KK was a very good queen generally, not bad, but she lacked some intelligence of her own. So she had a tendency to get influenced by anybody who put any ideas in her mind. And seeing all this negativity, Sumantra got worried. Sumantra asked Dashrath, my dear king, is that something which is bothering you? Do you want me to complete some task? Please just tell me. So he does not speak anything. Kaikeyi simply says, the king has a message for Ram, and he would like to speak it for himself. So please bring Ram here. So Sumantra is scared. When he comes out, all the people are watching, Imagine the day when you get married, That day is so special for the bride and the groom. All the eyes are on that person. When you wake up, when you take bath, when you put on clothes, everything. So it's such a day. When Sumantra comes out of Dashrath's room, the entire Ayodhya is already ready for festivity. Hundreds of soldiers and dasis are just watching what is the expression of Sumantra. What is exactly happening? Is he coming now? And they see Sumantra depressed. Because Sumantra was disturbed, something wrong is going to happen. Sumantra immediately rushes to Ram's place and he calls that king has called for you. So Ram comes, well dressed. And then when he goes inside, he sees Dashrath in such a situation. So Ram offers obeisances to Dashrath. But Dashrath cannot express any love for him sufficient enough. So Ram is still taken aback. Because one day before, Dashrath was embracing Ram. As if Ram was a small child, baby, like an elderly father, touching his limbs of his body, embracing him. And here he is not explained, he is not actually reciprocating enough. So then, he asked Kaushalya, what is Kaikeyi? What is the matter? Is there anything which the king wants me to speak? So shamelessly, Kaikeyi says, the king has a message for you, Ram, but the king is worried that whether you will be able to follow it or not. So Ram is disturbed. Not because that there may be a message which is difficult to execute. He is disturbed that how can Dashrath even have a doubt that I will not execute his command. He says, have I ever done such an act in my entire life that makes you think that I could even do such a thing? So Kaikeyi says, well, if it's true that you can follow everything, then the king desires that Bharat should be installed the king, and you should immediately proceed to the forest for 14 years. When Ram hears this, he is slightly shocked and disturbed. But his mind analyzes situations very fast, because we heard almost 15 minutes all his qualities. Lot of patience, lot of gravity, all this. Immediately he comes to this conclusion that Dashrath has almost decided and therefore he is unable to say. Imagine just after an hour, because at sunrise the whole process was supposed to begin. And it is just almost that time, he is ready for the, it's like in a life of a devotee, imagine that you are called that today is going to be your initiation. That day you are coming. And suddenly, when you come here, then somebody who is managing the initiation tells, Prabhu, no initiations. Forget initiations, don't ever come to this temple again. Imagine what a shock you will have. No reasons explained. Or for those who are craving power, what an opportunity to become a temple president or bigger person than that. And then on that day you come to know, no, you are banned for some small offense of yours, whatever. Bigger shock. Something like that. Ram understood it's a very serious matter. And it has to be resolved as soon as possible. You cannot carry this chaos for a very long time. And therefore Ram immediately falls at the feet of Dashrath and says, my dear father, for such a small thing you are hesitating. It's such a sad thing that you did not consider me worthy to follow your instructions. You are carrying such a great distress in your heart, thinking that it will break my heart. This is giving me great distress. I cannot see the pain which is there and the embarrassment is there in your heart. That means you did not consider worthy of being able to execute your command. He says, I think that what you have decided is for my benefit. So my dear father, it's my great pleasure to serve you in this way. Just give me your blessings for this. And he looked at Kaikeyi and he said, Kaikeyi, there is not an iota of thought which crosses my mind. I do not desire for this kingdom. It's a great joy for me that Brother Bharat will rule because he is capable. He is fully capable. He will not only take care of the mothers but also the stepmothers and everybody else very nicely. There is no hesitation for him. When Dashrath hears this, he immediately holds Ram to his chest and starts crying. Ram does not express his grief at that moment because he knows that if he breaks down, there will be chaos. Sumantra is there. Sumantra is shocked. That what is this Kaikeyi speaking about? Does she have any sense? Sumantra does not speak anything. Lakshmana is almost furious. Lakshmana is the only one who is having realistic emotions. What we can relate to. What is this happening? Just 1 hour later he is going to be announced as the king and these things are happening. So, Ram just tells, my dear king, my dear father, just give me the blessings that I should depart for the forest. Kaikeyi immediately prompts, yes Ram, do it as soon as possible. And you cannot go to this forest with these robes. So Ram takes blessings and goes out. The first place where Ram goes is to his mother's chambers because mother is already anticipating. And Ram tells Kaushalya, Ram is very sad. Ram tells Kaushalya, my dear mother, our father has decided that I should take more association of hermits in the forest. And therefore, for my betterment, he has decided that I should stay in forest for 14 years. So what happens next, we will discuss after a half an hour break in our second session. Thank you all very much. Any questions or comments? Yeah.
When he decided Ram to be king, he met with our council and discussed and decided Ram will be king. And when they are about to make Bharat as king, is it like, could you, I don't know the details of why?
Yeah, there was no decision. Dashrath never spoke from his mouth that Bharat will ever be the king. All the talk was done by Kaikeyi. And he was lip-locked for the entire time. So this happens with people in great positions of power. Sometimes there is some person who knows some secret about them in some way, and that person manipulates. Or they are obliged to some person in some way. This has happened with big countries. It's happening right now with many countries in the world. Some presidents, some prime ministers, some kings having some secret obligations with somebody. And then the whole world is thinking, why such illogical decisions are being taken? Whenever you hear illogical decisions being taken, you should understand that there is a very deep mystery behind. And somebody is holding the key very strongly. That's why no decision was taken on Bharat. If Dashrath would have spoken about Bharat, no, there was no opposition for Bharat actually. Bharat also. Because in terms of age, Bharat was just marginally younger than Ram. So if Bharat had all the qualities to become the king amongst the four brothers. He had equal temperament and almost the same age, same kind of maturity. But then Ram was a little bit special. Yes?
So the question is, you mentioned in the, if I hear right, Dashrath is saying that it is a burden to manage the kingdom. Why Dashrath being a devotee, why he is using the burden? Because the devotee never feels any service as a burden. What is the purpose of making that statement?
It's not burden as a mundane burden, but Rupa Goswami explains this concept of burden of love. In Bhakti Rasamrita, this says burden of love means even in a loving relationship there is some burden or a responsibility. For example, a mother, especially when children are babies, when you have a baby, so at that time the baby does not sleep according to you, you sleep according to the baby. And then you have to feed every 1 or 2 hours and even in midnight, and then probably new mothers, they don't sleep for months together. It's that situation. So although there is a loving situation, there is this burden also at that time. And because of the child, it's not that the mother does not want the child, but at the same time sometimes the mother wants some relief. When the father comes from office, he says, "Abhi thoda to sambhalo, thoda to dekho, din bhar sambhalo." Iska matlab ye nahi they don't love the children, but there is an expression of simultaneous burden. But at the same time, that burden is not like that you have want to experience a rejection. So when Dashrath says that I have ruled this kingdom of Ayodhya and it has been a burden on my shoulders, that burden is not that great. So every responsibility has a burden. Suppose you are made a president of this place. As long as you are just a participant in this place, everything will look beautiful. What a beautiful Naperville center, beautiful flowers, beautiful garden, and after the seminar, prasad, and Damodarashtam, everything good. But the moment you are president, okay, this is a maintenance cost, that cost, this cost. Now you have to keep relationships, you have to keep the community inspired, because if you keep them inspired, then only money will come. If money will come, then only you will have these festivals. And then you start feeling, man, I never knew this. So it's like that. Therefore, Dasharath says, because he has ruled the kingdom with Jitendriya, with controlled senses, he could rule for a long time. If one does not have deep dharma practices or deep understanding of dharma, such things become a mundane burden and you are just exhausted and you are not relieved. And you cannot artificially hold a position of power in any format, whether in mafia, in police, in a spiritual community or a political, any place. You cannot hold a position of power if you don't have deep-rooted ethics and morality in your life. Because position of power is always giving a lot of burden. People want the power, they want to enjoy the power, but they don't have the ability to handle the burden. And burden becomes mundane, and therefore we see leaders misbehave at times. They misbehave with the common people and they are flaunting their power. They dictate. Why? Because they are unable to tolerate the pressure. So you have to celebrate in whimsical ways. That's why it's a man. Yes, sir.
Earlier when you were mentioning the qualities of Ram and the qualities of a king, you mentioned about the act of humility, which is the first quality that submissiveness to the seniors and like that. So how can one cultivate that humility? Because most of the times there's always difference of opinion. And essentially we think that we're doing the right thing, obviously the other part is also thinking. So how can one cultivate humility?
See, first of all, we have to understand, that's why I read those qualities. The people in that assembly were not people who did not understand dharma properly. These days, when we have difference of opinion, each of them is very much valid in their own way because none of their opinions are deep-rooted in dharma. Because basically, people hardly have any understanding of scriptures. It's all very superficial. Here they are deep-rooted in dharma practices. They have experience of running communities. The kings have the experience of ruling kingdoms on dharmic principles for 1,000 years. Rarely you see a temple president who has, since I'm speaking with the perspective of your question. In our community, we don't have a temple president who has run a community for 25 years, being in a respectful position of a president, without any blunders. Very rarely you have a figure of 25 years being a president. And one who has been, then there have been upheavals, somebody has tried to throw you out, then you have comebacks and ups and downs, so many things there are. Those who are deep-rooted in dharma, in that assembly, it's an august assembly where the arguments are very deep and profound. In our situation, first of all, we cannot take these pastimes in a literal sense that, okay, because now I am in leadership position, I should immediately listen to or not listen to the seniors. It's not like that. But a basic understanding that when we are holding respectful positions, in the case of the Shtaduna, we have to have the ability to listen to those who are deep-rooted in dharma, at least maybe more than us. Because the position of a leadership is not about you at all. When I am a participant in a community, it's about me, that I am coming and I am doing things in my individual way. But the moment you become a leader, life is not about you now at all. It's all about others. The moment you become a leader, you cannot think of yourself. Then everyone else becomes the primary thing for you. Everyone else. And therefore, it's a very, very responsible position. Very responsible. And you can think about others only when you have some kind of selflessness, genuine selflessness, not by saying. One can be a highly selfish person by exploiting the concept of selflessness. By promoting the concept of selflessness in such a way that the whole community now selflessly, everybody is serving selflessly. But the guy on the top is not selfless. In positions of power, when you are in the conditioned state, as Ram had this quality that he could hold wealth and righteousness together. That wealth was not just mundane wealth. Power is also wealth. He could hold it. Now, it is for every conditioned soul, these things are weaknesses. Power, position. Because greed, we have pride, that means it goes to power. Envy, it goes to power. Greed, it goes to wealth. Lust, it goes for enjoyment. We have all these anarthas. So when we get these tools of position, there is a chance that sometimes we may slip. Because we have a tendency, one of the quality of Ram is, he has a tendency to be dharmic. We have a tendency to fall down. Srila Prabhupada explains in purpose, a living entity has a tendency to fall down. And therefore, we have to strictly chant our rounds, follow our duties very nicely. Otherwise, we have a tendency to fall down. That is our tendency. So imagine, Narad Purana actually mentions, people have, one greed can create so much chaos, one lust can create, anger can create chaos and havoc in life. Imagine all these anarthas put together with the position of power. Narad Purana explains what chaos it can create in the life of living entity. One life can make you commit so many blunders and offenses that you are doomed for thousands and thousands of lifetimes. Because these anarthas are themselves dangerous, but when they come in the position of power, they can destroy a person. And therefore, humility, this humility refers to the ability to hear and accept the instructions of those who are seniors or in positions, honorable positions. Once you become a king, you are not obliged to listen to somebody else. For example, Ram, if he would have become the king, he was not obliged to hear to Dashrath henceforth or the seniors. So when in our case, when we talk of listening to seniors, because he is already in a position that he can kick us out. So therefore, naturally we will have a basic modesty to listen. So that listening is different. But here is listening that now there is nobody to kick you out. Say for example, now you are the GBC. You are the highest authority within ISKCON. Nobody can, but then at that time, if you don't have that element of taking an opinion, taking a suggestion or a guidance from somebody who is senior, or maybe if nobody is senior, you are so old that no senior exists, then some godbrothers. That is the element of humility which is. So everyone must have this in life. You should consider yourself blessed if you have these two things. First, one person in your life whom you can just blindly follow. Blindly means not in terms of that kind of blindness, where you know that he deserves that service. Very few people on this planet get an opportunity of such a person in their life, whom they can just give everything of their life. Just convince. And then second, an opportunity to serve. First to find such a person, and second to have a relation that he can actually instruct and you can also actually receive and execute that. If a living entity, a soul, gets these two things, he will be the most blissful person on the planet. Most of our problems in life are only this. You don't have the proper competent authority, and even if you have that authority, you don't have a relation or that, you don't have a goal, or sometimes we approach our seniors or gurus, what should I do in life? You don't have a purpose. So we should seek for such a purpose. These days people want a leader or a guru in a way that you don't have to listen to him much. Then you say, he's such a nice person. He never tells you to do anything. other extreme is you have a leader who just sucks you out totally.
Then we later on saw how mantra induces, and then you brought a great point that enviousness can be easily transmitted. So sometimes we come into situations where we recognize that envy coming into our heart. Sometimes we, knowingly or not, we communicate that to others. So how can one gain strength to, bridge a wall and stop that envy?
Generally, when do we experience envy in our life is we feel that some person is undeserving. That is one. That does not mean that you feel that you deserve it, but you feel that he does not deserve. Second is when it becomes even more personal, that I deserve than him. In either case, it's a desire to conquer on something. When it comes more personal that I deserve, that is, you want to achieve something which you are not getting easily. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.22, Krishna speaks this. Yad ichcha labha santushto dvanda dvavito vimatsara. When you get something in life which comes on its own accord, and you are santushta with that love or whatever you are getting, with that which is coming by its own accord, and you accept that, then you will be able to be non-envious. The moment you want something which you are not getting easily and you have to strive for it, and then only then you see somebody else is getting that, then that produces envy. So the first way to counteract or bridge a wall is to be santushta with whatever love comes in your life. If you are not santushta with that, then you will get disturbed with somebody else's love. Or you want to create your own love or profits by working extra hard. So samasiddha asiddha kritva api na nibaddhate. Krishna says such a person who is simply satisfied with whatever he is gaining by his own efforts in a little bit, such a person does not get entangled with the dualities, and such a person gets perfection. So that's the only way to reconcile whenever such things happen. In Kali Yuga you will see, somehow, everywhere you see, the undeserving, it will always happen in our definitions. Undeserving always have the bigger position. Somehow it happens. Lakshman tells this to Ram, this is in that Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga. He tells, hey, why are you listening to Dasharatha? Righteousness does not give a place to people who are meek and humble. You have to stand up for yourself. This is what Lakshman is telling to Ram. This is what we see in Kali Yuga. Those people who are neat and tidy in their relationships, even in their approach through their mind, very nice. Somehow people just don't value. We have seen this all around us. One who demands respect, people give some respect. Somebody who is meek and humble and nobody even goes, they'll say, very nice devotee, but nobody will go to help him in some way to know what he wants, what he does not want. He's a very nice devotee, he keeps serving. So what should I do? I just keep taking service. Because he's nice devotee.
This question is silly, but I have this question for a long time. In Mahabharata also there is 14 years in the forest. In Ramayan also 14 years forest. Everything is based on envy. So when we have so much envy, why they did not make a choice, never return back? Why they have to do only 14 years? They would have said, never return back, don't come back.
Mahabharata is 12 years. plus 1 year of that game of Agyatvash.
Why did it define years instead?
Because you have to say something. There has to be some definition. 14 years I explained why, because all the relationships are nullified after that period, officially. So you're dead for 14 years. The obligations are finished. That's why. Even in the life sentence in this world, it's 14 years. When they say he's convicted, life sentence, it's 14 years. Sentence for life means lifelong. So there's a difference between these two. If somebody is convicted for a lifelong sentence, they'll say he's sentenced for life. Or he's given a life sentence. Life sentence means 14 years. And in the penal code, 14 years, 12 days stands for, 12 hours stands for 1 day. So it's actually 7 years, not 14 years. In a legal code, the definition of 1 day is 12 years, 12 hours. So when they say 14 years, it's actually 7.5 years. Different countries have different definitions. I spoke about India. So 12 years just not. And see, Kaikai Mantra, it would be a very rude thing to say 60 years. Because when you can achieve the target in 14 years, why do you put 60 years? You should also look reasonable. Dharmic in approach. I am saying only 14 years according to the relationship cease to exist.
So in that MBSS also there is
You know, envy is such a quality, it will take shelter of anything. Like Mantra, when she was inciting Kaikai's heart, she was actually telling, you as a mother, you don't know how to take care of your children. You are such a stupid person. Ram always stayed with Dashrath. You always sent your son to Kaikai, Mama ke ghar pe rakh diya. Dashrath never developed any relation. So she was speaking about motherhood things and how sons and fathers should have good relation. So those are part of a dharmic feature. So envy takes shelter of anything to execute itself. It's not envy even lust. When you want to execute lust, when you want to execute greed, you want to execute pride, you will use dharmic forces in yourself.
So in the case of Dashrath, why is it that he had controlled his senses all these years, or he was a king of that caliber? And why does he have that change towards Kaikai? Or why does he, that scene or that episode where he puts his hand on their shoulder and he fails to understand the situation?
See, the only difference between person as explained in scriptures, when they are doing gratification and the people who do gratification, they do gratification in a dharmic way. Kaikai was a wedded wife. So he has all the liberty to be romantic with her as much as is permitted. Then it's mutual at the end of the day. Here we hear how Kaikai ruthlessly treated. Actually, there are a few more verses which explain that because he was always so attached to the beauty of Kaikai, although Kaikai would rebuke him, he just took it as a romantic thing. And then it explains such is the situation of great kings, what happens to them when they are influenced by lust. It is explained that King Dashrath, who could conquer that entire planet and also the Devatas, he was merely totally like a dog in the hands of a woman. That is how it says. Dashrath actually sinks his head in his hands and says, I have ruined my life because of my attachment for you. And he cries. So, controlled senses does not mean that they were like munis and yogis. They were not like that. They were controlled in terms of economic affairs, they were controlled in terms of taking decisions and all other things, and whatever enjoyment they would do, that would be permitted within the codes of the Shastra. So like Indra, that's a position where you should have some controlled sense. Indra is not like although we hear that he's having apsaras and enjoying and he's a sense enjoyer, it's not like so gross as the way it's portrayed at times. You cannot have a position of Indra without any control of sense. To have position of Indra, you have to be like Vishwamitra would send every apsara every 10,000 years. Thinking that now he's getting qualified. So 10,000 years of absolute sense control. So that's not a joke. So that way. The example basically here, the thing here to learn is, the lesson we learn is that in the Manthara was so happy actually, Kaikeyi was so happy, everybody was so happy. It was only envy which disturbed that whole equation. And the vicious connections she developed, that disturbed everything. And the only reason was, Manthara was one of the main servants. So she thought, if Ram becomes the king, Sita will become the queen. And if Sita becomes the queen, her maid servant will become the main maid servant. So my position of being the main maid servant will be lost. Just for that, she was simply securing her position of being the maid servant. So everything like that. And in spiritual world, it's not possible for us to become envious because everybody is going to be better than us, good than us in all aspects. Can you imagine the chaos we will feel? We all want to go to spiritual world. But if we go today, Krishna has no problem to take us right away. But if we go today, we'll see every person better than us. He loves Krishna so madly. Somebody is crying for him. Somebody is serving him, making flowers. Everybody is expert. Deep attachment. हम इतना प्रेम देख के ऐसे बर्दाश्त नहीं कर पाएंगे. We will not be able to tolerate that affection. Sometimes when you see such kind of ecstasies amongst devotees, even momentary, we feel, oh, it's too much. थोड़ा ज़्यादा ही करें. You cannot tolerate. Every person in spiritual world is like that. There is unlimited madness. How can we stay? Krishna can take us even today, but we are not ready to be in that environment. One time, two of our Swamis, they met after many years and they stayed together they were having a break. So they stayed together for 7-8 days and they would do kirtan for 10 hours every day. So the servants who were with them, first day they liked it. After 2-3 days they were so burdened. Kitna kirtan? And then the singing was so simple. One person had a mridang and one person had a harmonium. So there was no kartal, no fast, no jambe, no chorus. So one is singing, other is for 10 hours. So now this is not even madness. It's just a level of great attachment to sadhana. That also becomes heavy. Even to serve becomes heavy. What to talk if you have a mad person? Very difficult to serve. Nice.
I have a question, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mata, they had a lot of activities to have Krishna as their child. The same way, Dashrath Maharaj and all his 3 wives done a lot of activities to get the same, take the personality of God and the place. That being said, why did they have to go through, like when Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mataji, they never went through these sort of situations. Why did Dasharatha and his three queens have to go through all of this?
Why?
Like this expression of envy, expression of lots of, need for the power and all of this. They have to go through this. Why did they have to go through this? When they have done so much of activities to respect the Lord Himself.
That is the whole thing which we are trying to understand. After 36,000 years, you get sons, and just within few years, a small emotion, momentary, just takes over and then destroys you for a very long time. That's what it's all about. Anarthas are about. A tiny anartha in our heart, we don't know when it will rise and when it will redefine our future, our lifetimes. So sadhaka cannot take any anartha lightly, because right now it has not come out, but we don't know when it will come out and it will change the course of your entire life. Association is very important. Ramayan teaches these things. Ramayan is not like of a statesmanship shastra, it's more about individual. Mahabharata is more statesmanship. It teaches that if you don't have good people around you, you're finished. No human being is so strong to survive these negative opinions or negativity. It's not possible. Even if you know that something is bogus, if I start poisoning your mind about a person whom you have high regards for 20 years or say 10 years, whatever years, then I start speaking bad about him. First day you will think I am crazy, second day you will think I am crazy. After a few days you will start thinking, hey, this person is saying so much, maybe there must be something again. And by the end of fourth, fifth time of such a conversation or just overhearing that, when that person comes to whom you have been respecting, you will start seeing, maybe he does this, maybe he does that. And even though he has not done anything wrong to you, you will start keeping distance. Those things naturally happen, it's because of that impact. We all have experienced that. For example, when I first came to ISKCON, I heard so many, I got a lot of good experiences, but then one of my friends wrote, this organization, there were some problems, there was this, there was that abuse, there was some killing, there was some money problem, this problem, something on the internet, we always keep knowing something. So till that time I was okay, but when I heard that, after that, when I would go for Sunday Fish Temple, I would think, oh, this one, maybe. This picture, maybe. Somebody told, these people take drugs. So, I would secretly try to check their bags. Means I did not have as much opportunity to put my hands inside, but I would try to look. Maybe are they carrying some kind of cigarette? Something. And those who take drugs, उनका कुछ characteristics होता है. They have certain marks on the fingers and legs and this. I started observing those things. Whenever he would speak, my eyes would be on the fingers. देखो तो सही वो है क्या? Naturally. And my 1.5 year went only to every week I would attend, and whenever some Prabhupada disciple or some senior person would come, I would travel 2 hours to our temple, Shapai temple. Very faithfully I would go, but with that faith, I would just be looking at those things. That is the impact. Now somebody must have done those wrong things, that's a different subject matter. But the effect is so real. If those people, none of them had done wrong, it was a past history, but then it was all projected, and that's the power.
The problem is Canada, we will see about it.
Neem means neem tree. If we see every day take, that also becomes
Sweet.
sweet. The lie also becomes sweet. When
Yeah.
we hear more time.
Exactly, a mantra was condemned like your body is so ugly, and then very next verses she starts saying, you are so beautiful. That's the impact of it. Can you imagine that is one emotion which keeps us separate from Krishna? What a power. The banishment of Ram is insignificant in a way. Because when that was happening, they did not see Ram as Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was just one of the others. So maybe. So, for all of us, although I am speaking and sharing, it's not that I have realized this past time. I have just heard and I like this subject, therefore I am sharing. I am not about this emotions at all. We all have our struggles to overcome. Yes, sir. So we'll take a 10-15 minutes break and meet by 6:20 or so that by 7 o'clock there is Aarti, so I have been told to finish by that time. We had another 1.5 hour discussion, but we'll try to finish in 20-30 minutes.